Yes.
Other people are sharing in someone else.
These are your children as well, Olive.
What are you saying?
These are your children as well. They may not be from you, but the African setting, they call you mommy, they are your children. And what can we do? They are kids and they came in the picture.
Isn't it convenient, Jerome, that you gentlemen easily say, these are also your children?
Yes.
Did I sign anything? Was I there? Well, join the conversations that will be happening here on Good Morning Uganda. But for now, let's get into the local news.
And we'll begin with His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni, who has directed the Prime Minister to ensure that the widow of the late General Aronda Nyakairima is compensated to allow the residents she had evicted from a piece of land in Kyankwanzi regain their land. This was revealed by the Prime Minister Robert Nabanja at the burial of an 87-year-old Dimitria Nakyanzi in Kiyunji village, Gayaza sub-county in Kyankwanzi district. The family of the late Nakyanzi had been stopped from burying her body on the contested land until the presidential intervention. The Committee of Parliament on the Committee of Environment and Natural Resources has expressed the need for government to come up with a proper regulation on the percentage of local plastic material recycled and its impact, plus that imported. While on an oversight tour to different recycling plants, the committee discovered that the percentage of imported materials is more than the local picked from the environment. The Uganda Police Force has disclosed the preliminary investigations into the misappropriation of the Parish Development Model funds, which prompted the arrest of local council officials in Moroto, Sere and Amdat district. The arrest followed a presidential directive to the police force to take immediate action to commence the marking of the just concluded primary leaving exams. The board spokesperson Jennifer Kaure indicated that the marking center have been scaled down from the usual 20 to 13. The marking of primary leaving exams is to start on the 30th of November this very year, and examiners have not yet received their notice. All examiners who have not yet received their notice are advised to check with the UNEB Secretariat. UNEB emphasizes that candidates whose practical grading scores have not yet been submitted should cross-check with their respective schools to hand in the assignments. Meanwhile, police arrested the headmaster of Chitende SS for allegedly tampering with examination papers and engaging in examination malpractices. This is the first set of exams under the new lower secondary curriculum where continuous assessment contributes 20% of the total marks.
All right, now moving on, Donald Trump vows day one tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. Donald Trump says he will hit China, Mexico, and Canada with new tariffs on day one of his presidency in an effort to crack down on illegal immigration and drug smuggling in the United States. The president-elect said that immediately after his inauguration on 20th January 2025, he will sign an executive order imposing a 25% tariff on all goods coming from Mexico and Canada. He also said an additional 10% tariff will be levied on China until the government there blocks smuggling of the synthetic opioid fentanyl from the country. Biden administration has been calling on Beijing to do more to stop the production of ingredients used in fentanyl, which Washington estimates killed almost 75,000 Americans last year. The tariffs on Mexico and Canada will remain in place until the two countries clamp down on drugs, particularly fentanyl, and migrants illegally crossing the border Trump said in a post on his Truth Social platform. Now moving on, from German Chancellor Angela Merkel has told the BBC that the gas deals she made with Russia were intended to help German firms and keep the peace with Moscow. She also insisted the war with Ukraine would have started earlier if she hadn't blocked Kyiv's entry into NATO in 2008. Angela Merkel led Germany for 16 years. She was in office during the financial crisis, the 2015 migrant crisis, and significantly Russia's 2014 invasion of Ukraine. Was she too soft on Moscow, too slow to help Kyiv? If she hadn't blocked Ukraine's NATO membership in 2008, would there be a war there now? Speaking to the BBC in Berlin, Mrs. Merkel is robust in her defense of her time in office. She says she believes the war in Ukraine would have started sooner and would likely have been worse if Kyiv had begun the path to NATO membership back in 2008. We would have seen military conflict even earlier. It was completely clear to me that President Putin would not have stood idly by and watched Ukraine join NATO. Well, with that story, we come to the end of our international news, but Jerome Paul has more on the front of the press review.
Well, starting off with the new vision, head teachers get pay rise as scientists in prisons and police are also set to benefit from this pay rise, says the new vision. Then the judiciary appoints 38 magistrates. Now at the front page, you can see faces of some of those. There is Precious Athaire at the top, and then other faces as well. Smith Kayanja, January Omujuni, Patrick Mugisa, Millie Chandiru. There is Patricia Doliko Ato, Rebecca Apika, Barbara Aketo, Joeria Nacheyune, Emmanuel Kiria, Vastin Kembabazi, Derek Kawana, Isaac Anes Muwanga, Boniface Okello, Inid Namuyaga, Juliet Nakazi, and Joan Okori, John Semukutu among the faces at the front here. Then also looking into what the New Vision is reporting, 230,000 preterm babies born in Uganda annually. That report is courtesy of today's New Vision. Then students can sue for bullying in the Teen Vision. Read about that as well. Then read about Nancy Kachungira's story with My Life at the BBC. She shares that with the New Vision in today's cover. Then also the Daily Monitor, The Price of Freedom is the headline. Two sides of a coin. Would you confess to a crime you did not commit in order to regain your freedom? That is what Olivia Lutaya and some of her co-accused claim they had to so as to walk free after nearly 4 years in jail. The youth minister Balam Barugahare, who was involved in the negotiation, says the group confessed willingly. That report is in the Daily Monitor. Now, Rainbow, young author launches book, excites peers. Then opposition politicians charged over Besigye abduction protest. 8 of these opposition members were yesterday charged before the Uganda Road Chief Magistrates Court. That report is also with the Daily Monitor. Now, news: Will Museveni directive against politicians on boards work? That is in the other news. Also, government releases 2025 school calendar. You can find about that report in the Daily Monitor. Then off to Kenya, the Daily Nation, how Ruto men sued over classified spying software. There is a lawsuit where the case was filed yesterday by Mary Wachuka Maina, a dual Kenyan and Canadian citizen. And the front page, the Ruto men include Chris Kipto, Principal Secretary, National Treasury. There is Felix Koskei, Head of Public Service, Eric Ngeno, the President's speechwriter, and Jayesh Saini, the health sector entrepreneur. Now, also, a woman married to 2 men fights their widows over 100 million shillings estates. That report is in the Daily Nation. Then in matters education, EACC report, Moi University ignored haunts officials. Then Gachagwa's security withdrawn. The former deputy president has revealed that the state has now completely withdrawn his security, accusing him of sponsoring dissent against President William Ruto's government. Then dishonorable, greedy members of parliament, pocket bodyguards and drivers' allowances, according to a new report in Kenya. Then lastly, from the press review is the Citizen from Tanzania, what it means as shilling appreciates against dollar. The shilling has clawed back some losses in recent weeks and appreciated against the US dollar, bringing much needed relief for manufacturers, vehicle importers and motorists, among other beneficiaries. The shilling in context is the Tanzanian shilling. Now, the fifth GNHPP turbine to go live soon as station's completion nears. That report is with the Citizen. And then matters national praise. Men deserve credit in fight against gender-based violence. That report is with the Citizen. Then also find about why landlords should know their tenants. The seizure of hundreds of kilograms of narcotics from a house in Dar es Salaam has highlighted the need for landlords to be fully aware of their tenants' undertakings, lest they lose their houses. Now, also, 9 members of the same family have been killed in Tarime floods. That report is with the Citizen. And that does it for our press review this morning.
Wow, interesting stories in the press review today. But I think Robert is mostly interested in the one of a lady married to 2 men and fighting 2 of his widows. Now, that's a very interesting story. But you'll find the details when you buy the paper at the nearest stall supermarket today. Now, you've heard about people saying the grass ain't greener. Well, Chris Brown is here to tell you the same. Enjoy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Girl that you used to be, you say you're done, you're moving on. This ain't the world that it used to be. Looks like one, looks like one. Sick of leaving messages on your cell. True love the power when you're not there. Girl, you had somebody who really cared. Now you walk the world is not there. You used to be the one to talk to.
75%. Now, I'm seeing these issues of property. Remember also the other side of the marriage bill 2024, Saro Pendi also pushing for a 50%. So here, these issues, women and property, then they look at some bit of injustice, but I'm very keen to see how this will all end. 50%, 50%, and then what is left of the children? That is one thing we should ask.
50%. She gets 50%.
You're one person.
I am.
You're one person. You're taking 50%. You have 4 children.
Robert, I think the other problem actually may not be the 75% that children are receiving, but probably the problem is, or the challenge is, which children, whose children? Because we may have 3 children together, but you have 5. Outside due to extracurricular activities, and they have to share the 75 that she worked for. So I see where that is coming from.
You shouldn't be mean, ladies. Look at your ancestors
It's not being
the
mean.
other. How did things work in African society?
Well, Robert, I would like for you, I would like to bring you back to current times where we are not in the African traditional society, where you are working to make the bread and I'm working to make the bread, and at the end of the day, because you were happy somewhere else, other people are sharing in someone else.
These are your children as well, Olive.
What are you saying?
These are your children as well. They may not be from you, but the African setting, they call you mommy, they are your children. And what can we do? They are kids and they came in the picture.
Isn't it convenient, Jerome, that you gentlemen easily say, these are also your children?
Yes.
Did I sign anything? Was I there? Well, I'm enjoying the conversations that will be happening here on Good Morning Uganda. But for now, let's get into the local news.
And we'll begin with His Excellency President Museveni, who has directed the Prime Minister to ensure that the widow of the late General Aronda Nyakairima is compensated to allow the residents she had evicted from a piece of land in Chankwanzi regain their land. This was revealed by the Prime Minister of Banja at the burial of an 87-year-old Dimintiria Nachanzi in Kiyunji village.
Good morning, Uganda. In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks, Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, when she was addressing journalists on Sunday, the State Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Peace Mutuzo, did ask men to remain humble because many cases of gender-based violence are rooted in the superiority of men. Now, so many conversations are being had regarding the same as far as gender-based violence is concerned. And yesterday, the entire world kicked off the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence against women and girls. That's why we are having this conversation here today. First of all, what are the major contributing factors for gender-based violence, and why is it that the numbers are growing more and more exponentially as compared to years before? What is happening between the genders, the sexes? Why aren't we finding a reprieve? Why is it that couples, especially intimate partners, are finding more trouble seeing eye to eye, working together and understanding each other? Some of the cases have been fatal, where people have lost their lives, and others, their lives have been transformed for pretty much the rest of their lives, because probably they have a broken limb, or they have lost a limb, a body part, an eye, anything, and this is not good at all. Well, my name is Olive Monica Najuma, and in Studio B there is Chirabo Robert Nyonyinchano, and right next to me is Joram Paul Sonko. Now, Robert, coming to you first, 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Where do we start? Why are the numbers rising?
Well, thank you so much, Olive, and of course the international community for having seen that we need to have days from the 25th of November till the 10th of December, specifically looking at how best we can end, not even reduce. The deal is end gender-based violence. Now, previously, when we talked about violence, it would go to women and the girl child. Of late, we also have issues of the boy child. But you've asked a very important question, and I know many people out there are asking, why in the 21st century, with all modernity coming to us, are we still having issues of gender-based violence on an increase? And now more even having in the male factor into here, because previously it was all about women and the girl child. One, culture. We do have many cultural practices in various parts of Africa that still demean, underrate a woman and give the male counterpart authority. I've ever witnessed a man saying, nakugure wamwe, njakuku. Meaning, I paid for you, I bought you. These are not partners in a relationship. One is a commodity of the other. I've witnessed where someone says, batukuwaddemu ebintu ebyaffe naawe. Though tell in some cultures, even the bed where this girl would used to be staying would be uprooted to show that you're gone for good. So cultural practices still dominate so much. One time we even had a member of parliament, that was Onesmus, when they were debating certain issues, and he said it is okay to beat a woman. Actually, there are women who will miss being beaten. So the cultural aspect is still a very big problem when it comes promoting gender-based violence. No wonder we even had to come up with laws like prohibition of genital mutilation, and many that maybe later on I'll be discussing. So away from culture, now comes in issues of poverty. You witness with me that the percentage of gender-based violence, most of physical violence, is more high in homes where they're not doing well financially. Because when a man is stressed, when a woman is stressed, there is no money situations, all that, they fail to find ways of how best to handle this. But also we have a challenge that as we talk about poverty, we also have issues where we are grown and trained not to seek advice from experts. In some countries, there are some professionals that are paying very well. Olive, you'll agree with me, that someone will visit this person, a counselor, professional, where things are not going on well, either government has these services, and whatever they are going through. And here I want to thank one of the fastest growing faith in this country. It has done a lot, a born-again faith, that people maybe will run to their pastor and speak up. Then they pray over it, and someone who was very stressed will come back with relief and hope things are going to be better. Now, with the lack of those professionals that people can go to and open up and get the right advice, they end up having rage, boil, and at the end of the day, violence is experienced. Also on the other side, religion. We have also certain faiths, certain religions that belittle this woman and give the man, yes, I believe the man is the head of the home, but still the Bible talks about loving your partner as Christ loved the church. So we still have some faith that promote these acts, and then there is a way they will tell someone, stick in there.
Guma.
Stick in there. Divorce is not part of us. Let's pray over it. It will work out. As this person is being battered, but I'm happy of late, they have also come to reality that yes, there is a time when the sweet darlings become sour and they are no longer palatable. They have to go astray. So when you look at those factors, culture, religion, poverty, lack of people we can go and talk to, express ourselves, how we feel, experts, well-trained people, those amount to why we are seeing gender-based violence increasing despite a number of efforts put in place.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Now, according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, a report released in 2021, 95% of Ugandan women had experienced physical and or sexual violence at one point in their lives. In 2021, the Gender State Minister said that gender-based violence led to at least 168 deaths during the previous year. That was the year of 2020. Now, looking at the cases closely, 17,664 domestic violence cases were reported in 2020, up by 29% from 13,693 in 2019, and 18,872 victims of domestic violence in 2020. Which is around 3,408 male adults and 13,145 female adults, 1,133 male juveniles and 1,186 female juveniles. I see when it comes to juveniles, the cases of gender-based violence among boys and girls are pretty close to each other. But now when you look at adult males, it is at 3,408, that was in 2020, and 13,145 among adult females. And this begs for the question, Jerome Paul, many people ask, why do we make gender-based violence about women?
Well, to answer that, when you look at the definition of gender-based violence, that the many definitions, I should say, one of them talks about the acts of harm that are subjected to an individual based on their gender. And when you also look into the reports, especially from Honorable Peace Motuzo here, she was revealing that when you look at the prevalence of gender-based violence, you look at it in a way that most of the cases are common amongst intimate partners, especially whenever a woman gets to earn more than the husband. It creates that source of insecurity. And why are we saying, why is the conversation always geared towards the women? Because in society today, even before, women have always been the vulnerable group of people, regardless of exactly, regardless of the success, regardless of the rise of, empowerment, equality, feminism, name it. But there's always that bit of the fact that women have always been the vulnerable people. And in most cases, the most dominant cases, and I'm not saying that men have not been victims here and there, but the most dominant cases that we have seen have come out where women are more victims of gender-based. Many have lost their lives simply because of the gender-based violence, where it is either their partner or their guardian who is, creating this harm to a young one. Or we have also, because when you look at the various forms of gender-based violence, there are some young girls who have also been molested by their own parents, I should say, their uncles. All of these forms make up gender-based violence, because you are violating this young person, you are violating this particular vulnerable human being. And in most cases, gender-based violence always makes sense because the bigger person, or let's say the stronger party, is always oppressing the younger person.
Or
and
the one that is not
the one that is not at the same
stronger,
level, or who is not stronger to defend him or herself. And in these cases, you realize that most of the women, especially in in communities that are prone to gender-based violence, or where gender-based violence is more prevalent, most of them are women in who come from humble backgrounds, or those who cannot easily fetch a living for themselves. And in the same aspect, they fall to the abuser because they know this is the person who earns for me what I have today. This is the same person who fetches what I take every day. This is the same person I report to in case I need help. So whenever they fall victim to this person, they feel they cannot go out and report because they would wonder what will happen to me if I report, let's say, my father. What will happen if I report my husband? And Robert has given us an example in regards to Christian marriages. At times, people go out for counseling and the best they tell them is you need to stay. What kind of picture are you going to depict out there? What kind of picture are you going to portray before the public when you leave your marriage? You're going to show the world that your husband is, let's say, an abuser. And for the incident of men who have also become victims of gender-based violence, they are also silent because at times even the people they speak to make fun of them, and they will tell them, why are you so weak as a man? Why is the woman, beating you? How can a woman beat you? Yet these things happen. Now, again, to go back to your question, in a same report, you realize that globally there is an estimate of over 736 million women, and out of those, nearly 1 in every 3 have experienced physical and sexual abuse. And that is where you're seeing that most of these conversations end up heading more on the side of the women, because the cases amongst the women have seemed to be growing every other day, and not downplaying the fact that even the men are victims here, but most of the women have found themselves more of the victims, and many have also lost their lives in the same regard.
Yeah, you're right, because when you look for the case of Uganda, when you look at 13,000 women being affected by gender-based violence vis-a-vis the male counterparts at 3,000. Now, 3,000 is quite a high number, especially if you put into focus that some of these actually are young men, juveniles. Juveniles at 1,100 and something, and the girls are at 1,300. So the numbers are pretty high. But when we talk about gender-based violence, there are different forms, and Joram did touch on some of them, but there is a physical, which is any act which causes physical harm as a result of unlawful physical force. Now you can factor in punches, kicks, any way, any physical violence towards another person. And then there is the sexual violence, which is any sexual act performed on an individual without their consent. Sexual violence can take the form of rape or sexual assault. So here you will look at cases of rape, you look at cases of molestation, or even sexual harassment in places of work. Then you think about psychological, which is any act which causes psychological harm to an individual. Psychological violence can take the form of coercion, defamation, verbal insult, or harassment. I think here you can also factor in things like the many women whose naked videos have been released on social media without their consent, because it affects them psychologically. But then we have economic. And gentlemen, I think I would like for us to talk about this more, because when you talk about gender-based violence, in most cases people think of the kicks, the rape and everything, and in most cases we do not highlight the economic part of it. But what is economic violence? This is any act or behavior which causes economic harm to an individual. Economic violence can take the form of, for example, property damage, restricting access to financial resources, education or the labor market, or not complying with economic responsibilities such as alimony. Now, Robert, coming back to you, when we speak about economic violence, I have mentioned some of the forms it takes. But what is usually behind the mindset of a man who decides to economically violate their partner, or even a few women? But I think the focus here is on the men, because in most cases, they're the ones who say, my wife cannot work.
Well, usually there is fear for many men that deprive their wives the right to work. There's just fear. Many feel out there this person is not safe. Safe in a way that they believe someone else will take over this person. When you let a woman work, if she's working in Chikubo, these assumptions. Well, you don't know other rich men there. She'll end up being a woman of you and others. When a woman works, some have fear. And some of these fears are very ancient, I must say. When a woman gets money, that is why the Honorable Minister of State for Gender and Culture, Honorable Peace Mutuzo, talked about when a lady has money. I don't deny there are some ladies that are suffering from arrivalism. But when they get money...
Why do we have words like arrivalism? We have words like aggressive when it comes to women.
Well, there are those women that when they get money, remember, Olive, and this is why we've seen so many now cries to have more of percentages in property, cries to have more of the rights in money.
And that's uncalled for?
Now, the challenge here is that for longer a time, I've gone to functions where even some women are thanking His Excellency that you removed us from the kitchen, from the backyard. Now here we are. Now, some of these have not been used seeing. I grew up, many will tell you that they grew up seeing fathers going to fend, fathers having money, but maybe when the mothers stayed home. Now, when a person who has grown up, and some of them, maybe they just arrive at a situation where, hey, I'm a woman, I have the money, then character and behavior, to some, not all, character and behavior in a marriage totally changes. I've spoken to many men whose husbands, many men whose wives have joined politics. And it's like an automatic ticket to break up. Though I've also spoken to many whose wives have joined politics, and they are very powerful people in this country, and they are happily married.
Robert, so, just on that point, just some clarification here. When you talk about the men whose marriages have broken up because A, maybe the wife joined politics, or B, she is successful in whatever business she's doing, is it really a case of character changing, or there is also a case of low self-esteem? Because studies have also indicated that some men abuse their wives because of issues to do with low self-esteem.
That is also there. I think it's 50-50, potato, because there are where you really see that the man is insecure. And this is within us. Many men, to call a spade, many men fear successful women because they feel they are losing their position as the head of this home. And many marriages, let's be very honest, where the woman is more powerful, more successful, it takes a well-brought-up husband to move through those trying storms. And it also takes a well-disciplined lady for that marriage to go through. So sometimes why we see this economic violence take place is because of the complications. Now a man is earning less, his power has been the fact that the woman runs to him. You know, I need money for this at home. Now when a woman has the capacity to sort these and more, some men feel they have lost it. They have lost that esteem. Now, funny enough, they want to react to find their place. They don't believe that even I can be supportive and still be that man. But I also say it takes a strong woman. Now, the other that we've mentioned of their status, fear, but also the fact that sometimes these end up feeling insecure that someone else is going to take this woman. For example, a man who is performing some job, didn't make it to university, educates a woman up to university. I think you've seen these cases, Olive.
And suddenly she's speaking a lot of English.
She's speaking a lot of English. She's moving in conferences. This card dealer does not understand these things.
You're talking about symposiums,
we have a symposium, we have a workshop in Nairobi, meetings and all this. So he thinks someone is taking this woman. And also sometimes these ladies get there, and to be honest, you no longer the suitable husband to present. So,
well,
they end up also moving away.
There is a pertinent question here. Why are you educating her? Why aren't you educating yourself? Because it seems like this is something you also need.
Because you're educating her, and it's automatic.
So-
she's going to leave once she's done.
I wouldn't say it's automatic. Olive can tell us she's the woman on this platform.
I am an educated woman, so
but if you were-
I can't really relate. But anyway, gentlemen,
Yes.
according to a report by Afrobarometer in 2022, they found that majority of Ugandans see domestic violence as a private rather than a criminal matter. And according to them, 1% do not know or refuse to believe that domestic violence is actually existing. Then 21% believe it's very common. Then 28% they say somewhat common. Then 36% they say it's not yet very common. And 14% not at all common. These are the people who believe that. So the question was, how common do you think it is for men to use violence against women and girls in the home or in the community? And you can see that 36% of the respondents said not very common. So coming back to you, Joram, it's been reported that one of the reasons why domestic violence against women and girls is still prevalent is because many people don't believe that it is an issue that needs to go to like courts of law, that the government is not supposed to be invited into people's marital issues. And there are also cases of couples who say they go to the police but they don't get the help they need because the police officers are usually asking them, go home, talk to your wife, go home, talk to your husband. How do you think this is affecting us as a country, and what interventions do we need?
You know, the most shocking bit is that even the police people are also facing the same issue. Now, when you go to the police to report such a case, they will tell you go because maybe
Even my wife beats me.
Maybe the police officer is also someone who is beating the wife at home, or the female police officer might be someone who's facing the same issue. And I think first is speaking out. And I love the fact that today's generation has started using social media in the right way. Okay, there are some people who are using it wrongfully, but there are certain women and some men who are using their platforms to speak out. You never know what it means. You know, when someone is on social media, because we spend most of the time there, and I'm looking at not only
Gaya's sub-county in Chankwazi district. The family of the late Nachanzi had been stopped from burying her body on the contested land until the presidential intervention. The Committee of Parliament on the Committee of Environment and Natural Resources has expressed the need for government to come up with a proper regulation on the percentage of local plastic material recycled and its impact, plus that imported. While on an oversight tour to different recycling plants, the committee discovered that the percentage of imported materials is more than the local picked from the environment. The Uganda Police Force has disclosed the preliminary investigations into the misappropriation of the parish development model funds, which prompted the arrest of local council officials in Moroto, Serere and Amdat district. The arrest followed a presidential directive to the police force to take immediate action following numerous complaints from the would-be beneficiaries of parish development model. The arrest of 13 local council officials follows a directive by His Excellency. Some of the parish chiefs are accused of bribery and soliciting for money in order to include locals on the parish development model list. The suspects have been arraigned in court and remanded. They will answer to charges of bribery and misuse of public office. Meanwhile, police in Old Kampala are holding a one Otim Charles, a security guard with G4S security services, for robbing a billion van that was transporting money. It's alleged that Otim and his partner in crime, who are on the run, made away with 1 billion shillings in cash. Police also arrested over 20 individuals for the growing and consumption of marijuana in the western region of this country. And finally, the Uganda National Examinations Board has contracted an examiners to commence the marking of the just concluded primary leaving exams. The board spokesperson, Jennifer Kaure, indicated that the marking center have been scaled down from the usual 20 to 13. The marking of primary leaving exams is to start on the 30th of November this very year, and examiners have not yet received their notice. All examiners who have not yet received their notice are advised to check with the UNEB Secretariat. UNEB emphasizes that candidates whose practical grading scores have not yet been submitted should cross-check with their respective schools to hand in the assignments. Meanwhile, police arrested the headmaster of Chitende SS for allegedly tampering with examination papers and engaging in examination malpractices. This is the first set of exams under the new lower secondary curriculum, where continuous assessment contributes 20% of the total marks.
All right, now moving on, Donald Trump vows day one tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. Donald Trump says he will hit China, Mexico, and Canada with new tariffs on day one of his presidency in an effort to crack down on illegal immigration and drug smuggling in the United States. The president-elect said that immediately after his inauguration on 20th January 2025, he will sign an executive order imposing a 25% tariff on all goods coming from Mexico and Canada. He also said an additional 10% tariff will be levied on China until the government there blocks smuggling of the synthetic opioid fentanyl from the country. Biden administration has been calling on Beijing to do more to stop the production of ingredients used in fentanyl, which Washington estimates killed almost 75,000 Americans last year. The tariffs on Mexico and Canada will remain in place until the two countries clamp down on drugs, particularly fentanyl, and migrants illegally crossing the border, Trump said in a post on his Truth Social platform. Now moving on, from German Chancellor Angela Merkel has told the BBC that the gas deals she made with Russia were intended to help German firms and keep the peace with Moscow. She also insisted the war with Ukraine would have started earlier if she hadn't blocked Kyiv's entry into NATO in 2008. Angela Merkel led Germany for 16 years. She was in office during the financial crisis, the 2015 migrant crisis, and significantly Russia's 2014 invasion of Ukraine. Was she too soft on Moscow, too slow to help Kyiv? If she hadn't blocked Ukraine's NATO membership in 2008, would there be a war there now? Speaking to the BBC in Berlin, Mrs. Merkel is robust in her defense of her time in office. She says she believes the war in Ukraine would have started sooner and would likely have been worse if Kyiv had begun the path to NATO membership back in 2008. We would have seen military conflict even earlier. It was substantial.
It is a worthwhile investment. Cassie was noting this at the 62nd CEO breakfast meeting, which was organized by the Uganda Insurance Regulatory Authority in Kampala. He emphasized that strong IT systems are essential for operational efficiency, enhanced customer service, and improved when you look at now, elsewhere we head international because since President Donald Trump became president after the election, Mexico, Canada, and China, the dollar has continued to gain after Trump vowed tariffs against Mexico, Canada, and China. Now, more details coming in from there reveal that the U.S. dollar surged against major rivals as of Tuesday after President-elect Donald Trump said he would sign an executive order that would impose tariffs on products coming into the United States from Mexico, Canada, and China. The comments spurred a rally in the dollar, with the greenback rising nearly 2% against the Mexican peso and hitting a 4.5-year high against its Canadian counterpart. The U.S. currency also rose to its highest level since July 30th against China's yuan, and the dollar was on the back foot over the past few days as the U.S. Treasury markets cheered Trump's pick of hedge fund manager Scott Bessent for the U.S. Treasury Secretary. Now, while traders see Bessent as an old Wall Street hand and fiscal conservative, he has also openly favored a strong dollar and supported the tariffs. Analysts suggested market reaction to the choice will likely be short-lived. Then Trump said that on his first day in office, he would impose a 25% tariff on all products from Mexico and Canada. And then on China, the president-elect said Beijing was not taking strong enough action to stop the flow of illicit drugs crossing the border into the U.S. from Mexico by curbing the export of drug-making ingredients. Now, the Australian dollar, for example, sank to a more than 3-month low of $0.64335 in early Asian hours and was last down at 0.41% at $0.6478. Now, the Aussie is often sold as a liquid proxy for the one given China's status as Australia's biggest trading partner. Now, New Zealand's dollar touched a one-year low of 0.5797 and was last down at 0.38% at 0.5823 US dollars. Now, Ben Annett, Asia Pacific investment strategist at Legal and General Investment Management, said investors have so far focused on market positive policies under President-elect Trump, like tax cuts and deregulation since the election, but it is arguably quicker for him to implement his more challenging policies, such as higher tariffs. This announcement serves as a wake-up call. More of that coming in from the United States. And well, speaking of the US dollar, we now focus on the forex market from the Ugandan perspective. Close of business Monday, the 25th of November. The US dollar by Monday was opening at 3,698.91, while selling at 3,708.91 shillings. By midday, it was buying at 3,699.14, while selling at 3,709.14. The US dollar then closed buying at 3,699.91 while selling at 3,709.91. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,660.40 while selling at 4,673.00. The euro then was buying at 3,877.13 while selling at 3,887.61. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.57 while selling at 28.64. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.39 while selling at 1.39. The South African rand was buying at 205.15 while selling at 205.70. Bringing us to the closure of business this morning. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, giving you details from the world of business. It's a good morning from myself to you. Stick around. Olive Monica Najuma is here with the traffic updates, followed by Good Morning Uganda's agenda.
Let's get into the traffic updates. I'm Olive Monica Najuma. Now we start off right in Bugolobi, where Port Bell Road meets Spring Road, and right in this intersection we have smooth flow of traffic. Now it should be noted that this area has had extensive roadworks going on at Old Port Bell Road and also New Port Bell Road, coming all the way to Nakawa. But now following Spring Road and where Luthuri Rise joins Spring Road, I see that there is a traffic jam coming through from the areas of Bandali Rise joining Luthuri Rise and now going into Spring Road. So that intersection that also has the taxi stage, you're going to encounter traffic jam over there. But when you move on with Spring Road, we have smooth flow of traffic, and continuing ahead, then the traffic situation starts to change as Kataza Miti is bringing in a bit of traffic jam connecting to Spring Road. Continuing with Spring Road, I see that Spring Road looks clear right at the intersection where there is Luthuli Avenue joining Luthuli Spring Road, and continuing with the same, 5th Street is also not bringing in any traffic jam at the moment. So if we continue with Spring Road, you will find some bit of traffic jam right after 5th Street joins Spring Road. There is that corner where you're going to encounter a bit of traffic jam, but continuing with the same route, you will have smooth flow of traffic. Now, if you don't use this route normally, do not use 4th Street because it is closed off due to roadworks that are ongoing. What you see there is 4th Street and the entire section is closed off. So if you try to use it, unfortunately, you won't be able to get through. You might have to use Old Port Bell Road, and at least right about now we have smooth flow of traffic along Old Port Bell Road. Now where 3rd Street connects to Old Port Bell Road, there is a bit of traffic jam over there, as you can see with that yellow zone. Continuing ahead, there is a smooth flow of traffic on Old Port Bell Road, though as the day extends it might be a different situation because of the roadworks ongoing along that route. Now, as we approach the roundabout at Ginger Road, I see a traffic jam coming through from the Kampala-Ginger Highway. But if you're heading towards the sides of Wampeo Avenue, we have smooth flow of traffic there. A bit of an inconvenience you will encounter right at the roundabout at Ginger Road, but that won't take you so long. Now, when you look at the other routes in nearby, the nearby routes, we have Access Road, and there is a bit of traffic jam there. That roundabout around Mukwano, you will encounter traffic jam. I see a bit of that coming through from Press Road, joining Mukwano Road, and then 8th Street also feeding some bit of traffic jam around the roundabout at Mukwano Road, into Access Road, and then into the main Ginger Road. But that won't be for a long stretch, as from the look of things, all the roads around this area look green at this moment. Well, thank you so much for sticking with us all the way from 6:30. The show is still ongoing. Coming up next is Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Stick around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The Homes and Construction Expo is back. Are you looking for answers to your property and real estate development questions? Come and interact with experts in the industry, including architects, engineers, developers, interior designers, financiers, and more from 30th November to 1st December 2024. The expo will be at the Millennium Park, opposite Philip Omondi Stadium, under the theme Affordable Housing, Innovations and Technology. There will be captivating exhibitions and insightful discussions daily. Entrance is only 10,000 shillings per day. To book a stall, contact 0772 354 940. The Homes and Construction Expo is brought to you by New Vision.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, dondolo.
You can now get all the chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juku. Yo. Watch. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are,
but you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, assigned Uganda Prison Service a task to produce food and animal feeds. This was a directive of July 2022 to Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries to allocate land to Uganda Prison Service for food production. The allocation totaled to 50,000 acres, in which 30,000 acres is maize grain, 10,000 acres soya beans, and 10,000 acres sorghum.
This is Aswa Farm, originally from Aswa Ranches, land which was handed over to Uganda Prison Service by Minister of Agriculture for food security intervention, and which came in as a necessity by the government program. And this one arose out of the food scarcity that was happening in the country, and the government through my felt that we should produce food. And this intervention includes Uganda Prison Service.
Bush clearing here started on the 10th of October 2022, and it is progressing on well. Apparently we have covered acreage of 1,000 acres, which is being prepared.
Manager and as a technical person in this place. It is a new farm among the new farms which are introduced for food security, and we are seated on an acreage of about 30,000 acres.
We are happy that in the neighborhood of Rugole, we are putting a silo, which is going to be a bulk storage, and who produce from here can be evacuated and taken to Rugole.
An agricultural engineer deployed in Rugole Prison Farm. I am most welcome to Rugole Prison, and this is the silo project, which has a capacity of 3,000 metric tons. It is meant to help in improving the storage capacities and also improving on the post-harvest handling mechanisms.
Coming soon on UBC.
Guys! Yes! Let's start farming! Woo! mixed farm is a type of farming that involves growing crops and raising livestock.
Very sweet.
Whoa. I tested it and it's not for me.
A buck is an adult male rabbit, and then a doe is an adult female rabbit.
Before watering, the first thing you should do is check the moisture content and you squeeze it.
Wow. If we don't teach children agriculture, we shall raise a generation that imports food. So, Isabella, what are we going to learn today?
We are going to learn how to make a rooting hormone.
What's up to see this?
So, let's bring in the water and we give these plants some life. Don't do direct. You get your hand and try to sprinkle.
And our word today is recycling, a very big and important word.
Let's not litter our compound, but let us practice recycling and proper disposal of waste. Let's go!
We are measuring on catfish in
Why?
massive production.
Why are you measuring
because of the costs and the outcomes.
Did you know that rooting hormones help plants grow faster and stronger?
Right now, we are going to test a pomegranate.
Pomegranate?
How is it?
Okay, actually.
It's nice. Larry, you ready?
Of course. I was born ready.
Bringing
goodness back to farming.
Bye-bye and see you!
The parish development model launched in 2022 by President Yoweri Museveni to fight poverty and enhance service delivery at the parish level has disbursed over 1 trillion Uganda shillings to more than 10,500 circles, benefiting over 1 million individuals countrywide. The government of Uganda appreciates you for embracing PDM and using it to move away from Okorera Ekida Kyonka. You are encouraged to continue participating in this journey towards socio-economic transformation.
Parish development model meno misegese madongo mulukin ma Uganda ma President Yoweri Museveni owuodho i oro gana ariyo gi piero gariyo gatonga malwenyo gi chandi kod imedo iko ngere matich pa government tundori dhano ma piny chako gi muluka otieko dhiro pesa silingi trillion achiel thoni abora beach risakos makalo gana par gi mia beach to ji milion achiel Ghana piero adek gariyo gi mia achiel gi piero aboro gadek thok Uganda gi pi jonwang'o pesa madongruok gine. Government ma Uganda fuoyo wini rojolo chan ma parish development model to wi oro makwanyruok woko inyaka tichiri ich kende mung'ere tek ni okokolera e chidanchonka. Onyo igo kukuri jopiny medo riwruok i wuoth me makelo wirok maber ithenge mating'o malo lim kod ikuopa ji. Wach me okelere rin kod Government Citizen Interaction Center, State House.
Enteekateeka ya parish development model eyatongozebwa mu 2022 ng'omukulembeze w'eggwanga Yoweri Kaguta Museveni yagitongoza enayambyeko nnyo okujja abantu mu waavu n'okutumbula enkulaakulana y'ebitundu ebyenjawulo okusinziira ku mutendera gw'emiruka era ng'enteekateeka eno yakateekebwamu ensimbi za Uganda eziri mu triliyoni emu n'ensimbi endala ezigwamu era nga SACCO 1,500 ze zaakaganyulwa mu nteekateeka eno nga bagijjumbidde bawerera ddala kakadde kamu mu emitwalo 3 mu 2013 okwetoola ebitundu by'eggwanga ebyenjawulo. Gavumenti ku lw'ensonga eno yeebaza abantu bonna abataddeyo omwoyo ne muteekesa mu nkola enteekateeka ya parish development model era ng'eyambyeko okuyitimusa abantu okuva ku nkola ey'okukolerera olubuto lwokka. Kati bannayuganda mwenna mukubirizibwa okwenyigira mu nteekateeka eno n'enteekateeka zonna endala eziba zireeteddwa gavumenti okukulaakulanya abantu baayo. Mwebale nnyo, mwebalire ddala.
My name is Abel Bakunda, Deputy RDC Kario District. There are so many success stories and achievements that have been registered in Kario District and cutting across all the sectors and departments. The government interest is to have seed schools in almost every sub-county. and so far the coverage in Cairo, we are still like at 40%. We are starting, but we are moving at a high speed. Then the Uganda Health Center, it is also a success story in the Department of Health. We are so far also government is elevating the Manya Health Center for the district hospital. Then in the Department of Production, there are so many successful farmers moving far away from the traditional subsistence farming to the money economy. Our interventions of Myoga and PDM have so far had impacts on the ground. Generally, it is good. We are trying, and there are so many success stories that anybody can come and see on ground.
Amaina gange nze Basile Benadi, field officer wa Ituba A, Ituba B na Kibengo Kikokoli obumu ku byalo model village Muzeyi yasalawo okugayigawaza ng'atwala abantu mu bwavu. Atya Muzeyi ajja atuweereza ebintu ng'ente, embidi, ebigogo, mwogo, nanansi twagabira abantu abamuli okumpi. Aye omala kweteekateeka tubaleeta bulete ntukuwa nga tuweetesetese ng'ente olina okuzimba ekiyumba eky'ente, eba mbidi eky'embidi, eba embuzi ebyembuzi. Nga tumaze kusomesa twakutraininga wakola ebyetaagisa. Bw'oba ng'oli kwenda mbuzi tulina engeri tukutraininga mu wazimba ekiyumba eky'embuzi. Era bwe tuba tukuwaira embuzi eyo neezaala twenda kwenkaana. Enkaana eyo tunoonya omuntu ataafuna twasolozaako ku bantu nga basatu abazaaziiza. Twagaako omuntu owundi ye tumaze okutraininga yonna tukola tutyo. Ente tukola paasonu, embidi donna tukola paasonu. Bantu bangi bafunyemu. In fact nga model village nsuubira nti abantu nga 10 bafunyemu, kuba abandi bazimbyemu amayumba, abandi balisomesaamu abaana bago tibalifuna bukalu bwino okutoolakuyo omuntu oyo omulala atafaayo kuwulirisa mulanga gwa gavumenti.
Nze Kagoya Manjeri nga ina emyaka 35 nafunaku esente okuva mu Myoga Sako danamba kubampaku emiliyoni ndala yanambako okusobola okweyiza engulu kubanga nalindirira mu bizinesi kubanga ebintu ebyanina nali ngangwire n'amazima nga bizinesi eweremu amaanyi. Aye akasente ke basobola okumpaaku ak'emiliyoni endala kansobozesa okusobola okwizaamu ebintu mu bizinesi danamba. Kale tusiime ino obuyambi bwemmwe okusinzira we nayongeramu ebintu nasobola okweyambaku ku mumbeera ya buliido ng'okulya, kwebeza, okusasula ku bills nga bintu byenkozesa wano ng'amasanalaze n'ebindi ng'omuntu obulamu bwolina obutambuza. Mwebale ino, mwebale ddala.
Amaina ndinaabire Jennifer okuva mwero si ekigusa ekyaganibwa mu Muterere Town Council. We bwatuuka nga ndi kunika business kange kano we nalinako nga amaani matono ino. Aye nawuliriza nfaze magezi ki ka business kange kano okweyongeramu. Abaye mulango ogwaida gwa gavumenti nti eriyo emyoga gyamba abantu kusitula mu buli muntu mbeera y'abataalimu. Najaayo kirungi nali leader najira mu group y'aba leaders nafunayo obusente naida nayongera mu ka business kange kano. Era nigano mukaganire nga nikano bwe kali kati tiyambisa bubi yambisa bulungi nga bwe muli kugibona. Sente jona difuniye mu nga bwe ndi kubakobera danga siisaamu kuba business yange bwe yali kibweri yeyongeiremu. Sente dino dangasa kale nze basebo mbebaza ba programu ye mwatuleetamu nebaza nti kabiri banange we buli awo kyongero nga muli kumbona nkayenda bwende wale nali wansi aye kabiri butindize kuku waigulu. Amaina ndina abiri Jennifer okuvaamu ero si ekigusa ekyaganibwa Muterere Town Council. We bwatuuka nga ndi kunika business kange kano nalinako nga amaani matono ino aye nawuliriza nkoze magezi ki ka business kange kano okweyongeramu abaye mulango ogwaida gwa gavumenti nti eriyo emyoga gyamba abantu kusitulamu buli muntu mbeera yaba taalimu najayo kirungi nali leader najira mu group y'aba leaders nafunayo obusente naida nayongera mu ka business kange kano era nigano mukaganire nga nikano bwe kali kati tiyambisa bubi yambisa bulungi nga bwe muli kugibona sente zino nadifuniye mu nga bwe ndi kubakobera danga siisaamu kuba business yange bwe yali kibweri yeyongeiremu sente dino dangasa kale nze basebo mbebaza ba programu ye mwatuleetamu nebaza nti kabiri banange we buli awo kyongero nga muli kumbona nkayenda bwende wale nali wansi aye kabiri butindizie kuko waigulu.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, it is a Good Morning Uganda agenda, and we will just get into our conversation today. But before we do that, I would like to thank you for sticking with us from when we started up until now. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, your host. Now, there has been lots of conversation regarding